Hello, I'm Kara Kinsler, and you are listening to Inside IASB, a podcast series that explores leadership and education topics as they relate to school board responsibilities. The Illinois Association of School Boards, IASB for short, invites guests from Illinois public school districts to offer insight into current and best practices. This second series will take a closer look at who school board members are. There are close to 6,000 school board member volunteers, elected or appointed, to represent the interests of 2 million Illinois public school children. It is an unpaid position. With each episode in this series, you'll hear a school board member share why they serve, as they talk about their motivations and experiences as a school board member. This episode is from my interview with Jeff Johnson from Kewanee Community Unit School District 229. District 229 serves about 2,000 students with 75% low income. Jeff started his school board service in 2001 during what he described as a tumultuous period. He took a break in 2013 and was called back in 2017. In the interview, he mentioned several times the community's support in the district. He's passionate about his volunteer service and the district's progress. There is energy with facilities upgrades, including a state-of-the-art Ag Science Edition. Jeff also touches on the issue of student poverty, what he has learned about poverty and its impact on student performance, and the work the district has undergone to address it. He also shares more about the rewards of being a school board member in his community. Here's more from the interview. Let's start with learning a bit more about Jeff Johnson from Kewanee, Illinois.
I was born and raised in Kewanee, attended college, and came back and went into practice with my father. I've been a licensed chiropractor for 41 years, and I'm now semi-retired. I have a wife, Pam, wonderful relationship. She's very supportive, and we're both very service-oriented. I have adult stepchildren and 4 granddaughters, unfortunately all out of state. Well, I submitted my name as to fill a vacancy in, I believe it was around 1999, and I wasn't chosen for the vacancy, which was fine. There were good people on the board. But it kind of led me to pay closer attention to what was going on and take a greater interest in what was happening. So I ran for the board in an election in 2001. That was a very tumultuous time. That wasn't why I ran for the board, but we were going through some things right then and right after that were very tumultuous, very disruptive for the entire process. So the first 2 years on the board were, well, I was never really tempted to walk away from it, but it wasn't a lot of fun. I served until 2013, and I took a 4-year hiatus. There were some other things I kind of wanted to focus on in my career and my personal life. I felt like things were going along smoothly, and they could function just fine without me. I took that 4-year span off. I did fill a vacancy on the Regional Board of School Trustees during that time, and then I got a little restless, and I took out a petition for the Blackhawk College Board, and I was circulating my petition, and my wife one day said, well, I don't know why you're doing this. She said, you always enjoyed your time on the school board. And I thought about it for about 5 seconds, and I said, you're right. And I shredded those petitions and took one out. And so I ran again and went back on in 2017, and I've been on since.
What keeps him motivated? Jeff credits the high-functioning board and the rewards of student success.
Seeing the achievements of the students and the successes in the district, the board has been great. We've got a very high-functioning board where we're not dealing with any internal struggles. The last time we did a board self-evaluation, it was really painless and pleasant, and so I'm really enjoying it. And I'm also semi-retired now, so I have more time, and just to see so many things happening. I mean, we're a district of about 2,000 students. We're a K-12 district. We're a high poverty district, and so that has kind of changed some of my perception of that has changed and how it impacts education. So very rewarding.
Jeff is dedicated to service. When I asked him how he's been able to balance various obligations, he had this to say.
Well, I guess I'm passionate about it, so I don't feel I need much of a break. And whenever we're around people, it often comes up. So, several times a week, And if I happen to be, in the grocery store or anywhere else, I mean, people in a small town, they know they can approach me and they may have comments, but fortunately, almost always the comments are positive. And we have a lot of community support, and we have a lot of parents that are grateful. And that to me is motivation enough. And seeing the students, I really enjoy the graduation ceremony, hearing some of the students' stories and the valedictorian speeches and so forth. It's kind of, when you've been involved long enough, I can say, I probably visited this senior valedictorian. I probably visited their kindergarten classroom. and so just feeling that I'm a part of that process, I guess, is rewarding.
Jeff is proud of the community support in District 229 and talked about some recent projects that are energizing the school community. Let's listen.
Well, we've got a lot of energy right now, a lot of construction underway. We completed a stadium upgrade with new lighting and synthetic turf just before the start of the football season. Everybody really enjoyed that. It also functions as a soccer field, so it's getting a lot of use. Marching band is using it daily or often. We have construction of a new gymnasium in one of our elementary schools that will also be available for fresh soft volleyball and basketball. We're trying to increase our facilities so that students in athletics can practice right after school, so that the younger students don't have to go home, wait till varsity practice is over, and then come back to school. So we're adding a new gymnasium. We're doing just completed a handicap entrance and new foyer area in one of our other elementary schools. One of our big showcase projects right now will be the Ag Science Edition. Ag, when the building was built in the 1950s, Ag was a different kind of program than it is today, and that has evolved. And about 5 years ago, I believe, we hired a new Ag teacher, and she came in from the world of corporate agriculture as an animal scientist, and she has a different approach. They're not interested in tearing apart lawnmower engines. They're vaccinating livestock, and they had a pig farrowing in the classroom this last year. And she has rewritten the curriculum so it's really science-based. And so we're taking it from the back of the building by the industrial arts and the welding shop, and we're adding onto what we call our science wing, because modern agriculture is truly science. And she is, we've hired a second ag teacher also. We're very fortunate to have those positions filled, and there's a lot of energy in that program. So I say the students are getting about a $2.6 million Ag Science Edition. It's going to be state-of-the-art, about 8,500 square feet. We think that it will be I think that we'll be the best in the state. I don't think you'll find anybody else with anything quite like we have. And we're one of the few districts that actually have our school farm on campus. So they have a greenhouse. They can walk right outside the door. There's a few acres there that have been in ag production over the years, but it's going to be more of an outdoor learning lab. We were big winners when they overhauled the school funding formula, the evidence-based funding formula. We checked a lot of the right boxes. We're a high poverty district. Our demographics put us in a good position there. They passed a countywide 1 cent sales tax, which has helped us. We're getting some wind turbines in our district that will be helping us. And so we have not had to raise any tax rates. We've not had to. The only bonds we've taken out have been either to replace old bonds or on anticipated income. So it's been a good time for us. We just finished a fantastic school play. We have a very active performing arts and fine arts department. We've always put a lot of focus on our music programs and performing arts. And we have a theater, which again, we're fortunate to have the facility. It was built many years ago and renovated more than once, but we've been updating the lighting and the sound, continually updating the quality of the facility, and that program has remained very strong. Competitive theater, so it gets a lot of use. And if we didn't already have it, we probably couldn't spend the kind of money it would take to build it. But because we had it, we're able to kind of continually upgrade it. We're able to offer a better facility than many districts in our position and our size. They do 2 or 3 productions a year. The band and chorus uses it, and there are things going on there, and anytime we can get the community into the school to show them, not just a gymnasium, not just the stadium, but, we have an auditorium, we have these facilities. We like to bring the community in so that they know what we're doing with their money.
When I ask school board members about some of their proudest moments while serving on the board, graduation is commonly shared. There is one that stands out for Jeff.
There's one graduation, one student that just really touched me. And she was a young woman that was graduating, giving her valedictorian speech. And I didn't realize until she was giving her speech, her history. And her family came from Mexico. And I believe she was in 5th grade and she had a younger brother. They spoke no English, and the family left everything behind because her parents valued education. And in Mexico, I believe the public education system only goes through 6th grade, if I'm correct. But anyway, they wanted her to have an opportunity. They recognized something in her, and she came into the district not speaking English, and as a new migrant arrival, and rose to be valedictorian, and was receiving scholarships, going to college, and I believe she's now a dentist. But her speech was based on her gratitude, not only to her parents and family, but to the district.
On lessons learned, Jeff shares this.
I've learned the importance of the team, the board and superintendent team, that when we've been in difficult times, that's been, having lived through bad times as well as good times, I can appreciate it, I guess, maybe more fully. But reaching a consensus and moving forward, whether there's total agreement or not, we can at least come together and move forward with a consensus. And our board members, I can't say enough good, positive things about my fellow board members. They're all very dedicated. They have different perspectives, but we've been very effective. I feel like we're a high functioning board, and the relationship with the superintendent has been very positive, continues to be very, very effective.
While Jeff is very positive about his experience, it hasn't always been easy. Jeff recalls when he was first elected in 2003.
So I was elected board president, and none of us had more than 2 years of experience. So my first meeting as president, I had 2 years of experience, and I was one of the veteran board members. And so there was a lot of tension. We had been looking at restructuring the district from neighborhood schools to learning centers. And we had been discussing it. There were a lot of people really on one side or the other. It was a very divisive issue in the community among the parents, but we had a high mobility rate. We had problems aligning and advancing our curriculum. We felt that some of us felt that going to learning centers would help us alleviate some of those problems. The mobility wasn't in and out of the district. It was within the district between the neighborhood schools. So it came to a vote, and we had 4 brand new board members, some of whom had been following the issue pretty closely. And my first action as board president was to cast a tie-breaking vote, 4-3 vote to restructure the district.
I asked if his perspective on any issues has changed over the years, and here's what Jeff had to say.
Yes, it has. And I would say the biggest change in my perspective goes back to poverty and its effect on students. We saw our poverty rate climbing. We're about 75% now, but we thought it was high when it was 40. We saw that poverty rate going up, and we saw the problems associated with that, the effects that it had on some of our students and some of our learning. We began to look differently at how we're taking care of the needs of our students that are living in poverty. So we're actually, I remember talking about trying to get to one-to-one computing, so every student had a computer. We're actually at about 2-to-1 computers to students. So they have one at home. They don't have to transport one to and from school and worry about charged up, or, it's tablets, it's laptops, it's, what they need. So we've increased that. We have a food pantry because we realized that hunger was an issue for some of our students. Some of our students were leaving school on Friday and anxious to get back to school on Monday so they could get a meal. So we're looking out for some of our students in poverty. So that was the biggest change in my perception. Was I wasn't aware that there was so much and that it had such an effect until we really went through some of that and dealt with it.
On working through conflict, Jeff says to focus on progress.
We haven't really had much controversy, and I think everybody has the view that we put the needs of the students first, and if you keep that in front of your mind, you're a lot less likely to get off in some area where there's conflict. We may have different viewpoints, but we've been able to agree that there's a path forward and that we can all move in that one direction. And so I think in education, if you're not making progress, if you're not advancing, you're really hindering your ability to get anywhere. I think you have to continually try to advance. And I think to do that, I think you have to have a consensus. So I think consensus equals progress.
How does he sum up his experience as a school board member? Rewarding and worth the time. Here's how he explained it.
When I came on the school board, I found it much more rewarding than I anticipated. And I have this personal flaw. I kind of like to conquer some challenge and then move on. But this has been something that is a continual challenge. And so I feel like I can stay engaged. I don't get bored with it and feel like, well, it's time to do something else. So if there's a phrase, it's that it's more rewarding than I anticipated. It may have been more time, but we can put as much time into it as we want.
Thank you, Jeff Johnson, for your time talking to me about your service. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you are a school board member and would like to share your experience with listeners, or if you have a question or topic you want to be addressed in a future podcast, I'd like to hear from you. You can email communications@iasb.com, or you can visit anchor.fm/IL schoolboards to leave us a voicemail. Thanks for listening.